Hello, Ellie.
Hello, Ruth.
Thank you very much for agreeing to this conversation.
Well, it is a first for me,
Mm-hmm.
and we shall see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, my first question would be, how did you first get into contact with the Alexander technique? What were you doing at the time? What were the circumstances?
Yeah. I'm originally a biology teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a fantastic job in Israel. But my nature is always to explore other fields. And the field that I explored was Feldenkrais.
Mm-hmm.
So I was joining a gymnastic or physical education classes with Feldenkrais.
Himself?
So he was teaching teachers of gymnastic and physical education. And I joined that class because I wanted to experience Feldenkrais in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there for a whole year experiencing Feldenkrais work.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, a couple of guys appeared. It's Misha and Zev, who just finished their training here with Macdonald.
Mm.
And they offered 10 lessons for reduced price in the Alexander technique.
Mm-hmm.
By this time, I knew nothing about the Alexander technique, and I thought, that sounds interesting, let's try. So Zev was my first teacher, and I'm also very critical. So yes, I thought it probably has something in it, but I wasn't that impressed.
Mm-hmm.
But life went on, and of course, I had lessons, and an opportunity came to me to go to England with somebody I knew. And I thought, for a year.
For a year.
So I had to take a sabbatical for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what am I going to do in England? At that time, Giora, who's another Alexander teacher, who was training with Macdonald, and he was also a teacher, gymnastic teacher, PE teacher, with a friend of mine. So that friend of mine introduced me to him. At this time, he was in England training as an Alexander teacher.
Mm.
So my friend created this contact. So we had an exchange of letters. And by this time, the person that I was going to England with just dropped. So for the first time, leaving Israel on my own.
Wow. Mm-hmm. How old were you?
I went 25.
Mm-hmm.
Went by ship to Marseille. Well, it's the first time I was on the sea, going to another country that I didn't speak the language of. And I just don't have any recollection how I made it from Marseille via Paris to London.
Wow.
Um,
That's a long journey. By ship
it took
from
me 3
Israel?
days. Yeah.
Wow.
3 days by ship, and then another day probably by trains. Anyway, I made it to Victoria Station, not knowing what this Giora looks like or anything. So I said to him, just put a flower and a dash of your whatever. And I arrived there, and there was this massive station that I've never seen the like before. My English was and I just remember just sitting there, found a place to sit with a suitcase, low down on something, and waited. And he appeared. He found me.
Wow.
So the first night, he invited me. He was renting a house, so he invited me to stay there. And anyway, I forgot to say that I wrote not only to Giora, I also wrote to Macdonald and asked about could I join his class, which was, of course, yes, I could. And I don't come from a very, my origin is in a kibbutz. And I didn't have much money. I had enough money for the first year, for 1 year, and a ticket to go back home. Luckily, I had a place I could stay for a short time, and immediately I was looking for some work, and I went to the Jewish office in Lower Richmond, Regent Street. And they offered me some job in wrapping up books to send abroad. So I learned how to pack books. I learned, and I met people there. So I did cleaning, house cleaning. And later on, I also started to teach Hebrew here. So Hebrew was okay, but the English was very slow. I learned it in the street. I didn't go to study it. And I started the course. There was a group of Israelis there, something like 6, I would think.
But you didn't know them before?
No, I didn't. I mean, I met Giora because but there were Roti and Chagit and I wanted Shaike and what's his name? Travels around a lot. And anyway, there were about 6. Now, the work with Macdonald was very different from what I experienced before. I found it quite intimidating to start with. He guided you with his hands, but if you ask him questions, he argued a lot about psychology, not good, psychotherapy, not good, this is not good, not. And I like to include it all, not rather than So I remember very little of the first year here. And I remember more my engagement as a Israeli in London, because we went to Israeli club, and I joined Israeli folk dance group.
Oh, nice.
And we performed in John Lewis, and we went to Manchester and to all kind of, we even went to Llangollen for festival of folk dance of different countries or different groups. So it was quite nice time to be here. And I rented a room. And I just made a little money for food and for my living.
So you made it through the training?
I have not yet, because came a point of the end, towards the end year, that I had to make a decision to give up my job in Israel.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a sabbatical year. And I didn't know whether I would have enough money to carry on, but yes, I trusted I would.
So you canceled your job?
And so I did. I decided, I said, I could always find a job as a biology teacher, and I could go to Israel with a second, now I've got another profession with a second thing in my bag to offer. So I decided to stay. And at the end of that year, us as Israelis, we rented a car, we went to Scandinavia, and we traveled, and it was actually a good time for. And now I remember working with Macdonald, that now that I'm a teacher and teaching people to teach, I can see that there was something missing about the way he was teaching. He would say to me, take her up. And I didn't know what does it mean? Do I push it up? I just have one lovely experience that I was working on him, and we've got this thing of taking you to lean back and then to come forward again. And I did it with him, and Macdonald, I don't know if you know, but he had a little bit of a hump. And so when he was down there, I kind of invited him to come forward, and he said, "Oh, that was good." I mean, the first time ever he said good about anything. That was good. Yeah. So I thought, maybe there is something in it, but I don't know. And to be very honest, finishing that school, the course, I realized a couple of things. One was that you cannot teach it without the participation of emotions. And the other is that the teaching cannot just be it needs to be an experience of participation of the two people working together. And the person you're working with, because Macdonald was so skillful that he could do it for you. And I absolutely love it, and I think I gained so much from the method that he, or the thing that he saw as important. And I've seen lots of, even now that I'm already 50 years, 50 more years, I can see that without the emphasis that he put on feet on the ground, working with your legs, the legs carry your body, and if they can't carry your body, the body hasn't got that energy and that force. That he called it upthrust, and I loved it. Upthrust of in the back. And that, I think, has changed me a lot, and my body, and the people I work with. I can see how that brings a new possibility for thinking up. But thinking up is the most complex, but the most amazing way, if we find a way to describe it, and to work with it, with the person, then it's fantastic. Towards the second year, I met Peter. It was very funny because there was an Israeli meeting on Friday night. It's always meeting in that club. So we would go there. But that was actually that was very much at the beginning. I said, I didn't know how to get there. And they said, don't worry, we shall send Peter to collect you. I didn't know who Peter was. So I'm even slightly confused at the moment. But anyway, the person who appeared wasn't Peter at all. It was Graham.
Oh.
And Graham is an Australian guy who went back to Australia. So I think I even made a mistake of saying Peter, and he said, no, I'm Graham. So basically you just see a girl who was born in a kibbutz, hasn't seen the world before, been thrown into this whatever, and finding her way in that. At the end of the third year, I had to make a decision. Is it Peter, or is it going back to Israel?
Another decision.
Another decision. And evidently, the decision is clear. So then we move on into our life together. We've got 3 children.
And you finished the training at the same time?
No. Peter finished after I've been there 1 year, and Peter then finished that was his.
Okay.
Yeah, he came to the class to regularly to work in the class, like you, maybe you, like you do. I don't know. I started giving lessons when we were married. We got married, okay. Very important. When I finished the course, there were 2 people who were training while I was there who had nervous breakdown, one way or another. One of them wasn't quite breakdown, but she went to, actually there were 3 people, she went to Carrington. But then there were 2 who I don't want to give names, but anyway, I recognized that this work cannot be done without emotional work.
Yeah.
So I started searching, and I started going to workshops of all kind. And I came about a workshop by Gerda Boysen. It is a Reichian work. And I trained with Gerda Boysen for 9 months. It's body work, psychological body work. And I went through rebirthing and through lots and lots of group works and individual works. And then I started working on people, therapy. It's a kind of therapy. And at that point, I think I leant more towards that work, including the Alexander technique somehow in myself, but not. But when I finished that, I seem to have gone back to teaching, Alexander teaching, but with different me.
Yeah. And a different understanding.
Different understanding and different relationship with the person you're working. And it came to expression during the teaching in the class, because there would be a person just bursting in tears. There would be a person just collapsing on the floor and just not be able to do anything. And there were all kind of, and I never feared it. Sometimes people stayed here 2 hours in bed later on, and so on. But it wasn't the only thing that I've done. I've explored quite a lot. Yeah.
And that was before you opened up the school here?
That was before, yeah.
Okay.
So I started teaching in our very old house, and then we moved in a second house, and I was teaching there. And then we moved here. And when we moved here, we had real facilities, if you like. We've got a room for work, individual work, and a room for... and here, I had 6 pupils, private pupils. Yes, I did family therapy together. Alexander worked together and therapy here. A family, with couples. And 3 girls, 5 women said to me, look, we would like you to train us. And I was kind of taken aback by surprise. I said to them, look, this is a new stage in one's work and development and understanding, which I haven't been through, because I didn't go to other schools to teach there. And I wasn't even a member of START at that point, because I thought, what's the point? I've got pupils, and Peter is a member of START. I get all the information, what I need. They don't send me people. I just get them. I don't know, somehow. But if you want to start a school, you've got to do that. So I had a very interesting interview. I did have an interview with START members. And there were something like, not members, but with the council. And there were 3 I think 3 of them had to vote, to vote. Or the first thing they asked me is, why haven't you been a member of Scout up to now? Yeah, okay. And I think there were 3. I don't know how many of them anyway. I know one who voted for me, and that tipped the balance towards giving me the permission to open the school.
So that was already, even though you haven't been a member of STAT and you hadn't worked in other training schools, they gave you the permission to open up your school.
And I had to, at that time also, I think it's still a part of the procedure, that you've got to get from your trainer, teacher, a letter that support you as so I went to Macdonald. What did Macdonald say to me? He said to me, "You're not much good anyway." No, you're not much good, but nobody is anyway. So you might as well, yeah.
So he was very critical but supportive.
Yeah. So I had a okay from him, and I had okay from STAT. Look, the fact that Peter was member of STAT all these years, and I'm his wife, and possibly I've been working. If people want me to teach them, probably I've been working. Maybe it all went for me rather than against me.
So how long after your training was that?
I graduated in 1968, and I started the training course in 1984.
Okay, yeah, now I understand. And exciting. So you started it on your own, or did
I started it on my own? But Peter was lecturing at the same time at that time in university, and he was my second or assistant or whatever it is you call it, but he only came here 3 days a week. And then I had 2 people that I invited to cover the other 2 weeks, the other 2 days. Yeah, so we had always, all the way through the training, 5 days a week.
Okay.
And we had all the way through in the training, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And I did not want at any point to have a large class, because I always liked to give myself to the people I work with. And I cannot do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Look at the time, 5 minutes. And if you are, I don't know, Macdonald could just have quite a lot of people, but he worked with the physicality of it, and he just made it go through your body. You just, and there's a lot that I didn't understand from what he was giving me, if he was giving it to me. I mean, never understood right, head forward and up. And never understood what lengthen your back. What do you mean by lengthening your back? What do? Do you push it up? How do you lengthen your back?
Yeah.
There are so many phrases that if you just depart these phrases to people without actually trying to connect it to the real mechanism, to the energetic aspect of it, to your way of thinking. I don't know. So I did not get all that at that point, apart from I got good body.
Mm.
And now at 85, and I've got, we are 4 in the family, my siblings, and I'm the only one who can still be.
Yeah, very up.
So you can say genes are also part of it, but I don't know. Okay, we don't talk about that. So
how many students did you have in the beginning?
We started with these 5. Oh yeah, I said to them, okay, I've got an okay to start a school. I don't know whether I would like to commit myself for 3 years. I don't know whether I like to do it. I don't know whether I'm able to do it. And we've got to take, what did I give them? A month or 3 months, 1 term. We're going to do 1 term. We're only committing ourselves for 1 term.
Okay.
My side and your side. If you don't like it, you just get up, say thank you very much. We loved it, but we don't want to carry on.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we started.
Yeah.
5. And they all loved it. Yeah.
And Peter was there from the beginning for the 3 days, or did that happen later?
I think I liked him to be, but I always had, there were days when I was on my own. I just had to take it as it comes.
Yes.
Somehow. Yeah. But I'm very responsible from this point of view, committed myself, then I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I done it. And I done it for 34 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
I
still enjoy it. And I still enjoy it because we've got this postgraduate class.
Yeah.
And again, we've got now committed people who like to come here. And yeah. And even though they're not the age of having children anymore, so it's easier for them to come, but now they've got grandchildren. And they've got a responsibility over there, and yet people are coming.
Did you have other influences from the Alexander side? So did you work with other senior teachers?
I mean, even Anthony was here. I don't know how long he stayed with us, but I had Maya, I had Gerda.
Mm-hmm.
Maya is from Israel. I don't know if you heard of her.
No.
She worked with Misha.
Mm-hmm.
Gerda worked here. Anthony worked here. John Crawford, I don't know if you know. He graduated.
He's a trainer. Yeah, he's a trainer at Anthony's school. So
yeah,
I trained with him as well.
So because he's such a wonderful guy, I invited him to work here too. I had visitor teachers, Ilana, and who came here when I wasn't here one day? Odyssey. We had quite a lot of people visiting from other schools, yeah. Their problem, possibly your problem too, is that I'm quite critical of styles that are forms. Forms, not energy flow. And so that I know now what I actually wanted to tell, and that is about COVID period, when all of a sudden we had to close the, I think at that time it was already my postgraduate. But we started teaching on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, we had lots and lots of people joining from Japan, from France, from America. Lots of people joined that Zoom. Now, what was Zoom for me? That was, again, another stone in your development, another movement in your development, because a little bit like having good hands and good body, I could do things with people.
Yeah.
What I didn't quite work out is how to accompany my inner work by words with the work that my arms, my hands are doing. So when I started doing Zoom, and I gave a lot of thoughts to it, because I meditate.
Yeah.
We started by meditation, kind of meditation, not calling it meditation. But I've got a doctor that trained here, and her husband had lots of lessons. And he's also a doctor, and he joined us on Zoom. And he said to me at a certain point, I think your Zoom sessions ought to be for a different a group of people, because it is so meditative and so relaxation and so this and so that I'm not quite sure what exactly he meant, but I know that a lot of what was put into my work then was very simply guiding myself through whatever it is I wanted to work with, and while guiding myself, doing it in words.
Yeah.
So they could actually get up off the chair and do their work, proper work, while they were listening to how I work now with them, as it were.
Yeah.
And that now brought me into teaching people here. And there's something that I've not met anybody talking about, and it is something to do about the origin of moving an arm, not from moving my arm, but from connecting feet, lower back, and it's an energy that never stops. So the arm, you think you're going to end up there. No, you don't.
Yeah.
So to work with a totality of energy movement. And because of that, when I put hands on people, I don't put hands on people. I almost like put my feet, my thighs work, my lower back works. And there is some kind of opening here and opening that includes the whole. So people get totally different instruction than the one of push it, pull her up, pull her up, pull her up.
Like Macdonald said.
So now you've got something like this that does it.
And that, did I understand that right, that through the Zoom work that became stronger? Or you became more aware of it?
I had to analyze what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So through analyzing, you became more aware of what you're
more
actually
aware,
doing. Yeah.
More aware.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Are you still working on Zoom sometimes?
No.
Everybody went back to hands-on.
Yeah, and it is sad because we had much more connection with people on Zoom than we have. But coming back to the fact that I couldn't now, we had one day, all of a sudden, Peter invited people from here and there, and we had 9 people in here. We got 3 hours that we work for this postgraduate class. And I just could not finish working with them because I work something like 20 minutes, half an hour on each one of them. And if you've got 9 people, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So it still is some kind of, well, I think it's worth it because I that's the only way I love it. I don't want to work otherwise.
Yeah. What is the most important aspect of the Alexander technique for you?
To sense life in your body. To sense the energies that are, and not just the energy that, to sense the fact that there is a force. It is a universal kind of a measure that force down, you don't feel it. We are standing on our feet and we don't know that those feet carry the whole weight of the body. When I need to get up, all of a sudden I think, oh gosh, it's heavy. I don't recognize that. But because we've got that, we also have got the anti-gravity force. And if we could utilize that as an energy, because I've got weight, because I've got that drawing me down, I also have got this up.
Yeah.
And that up. I think this, for me, so the Alexander technique is not, I said, a form.
No, yeah.
It's a dynamic living, it's a dynamic, energetic movement.
And from
including the breathing, the way.
Yeah.
It's not just in one direction. It's like the course. We got it the up and we got the widening.
Yeah. And how would you describe your approach of training students when you had the full-time course? In a brief...
Yeah, I work on them to start with. I put my hands on a person and then I know where they are. So I always try to get it into expansion beyond the habit that is, or the form that is already in your head of knowledge of where your body is. So because of that, there is a doing, because there is a widening your shoulder, there is a changes that take place while you're working on a person. So we would work on a person to start with. So we had the class divided into 2 halves. So the first half, you work on all the students, and they, at that point, the ones who can work on each other, exchange work. And after Zoom, before that, I actually recommended that they do exchange their experience, so that it's not like I'm sitting here and I just feeling what you're doing and just be open to exchange experience. In the second half, then we would have a break. There's another thing about reading the books, which I talk about it in a second. The second half would be giving them the experience of putting hands on another person.
Yeah.
And at that point, I would sense where the arms are, stand. These days, they've got to work on me, but they're afraid to work on me because I am so sensitive. I know exactly what they are doing. I don't need to listen, to look or anything. I know, so I can guide them. But what I want is to have this freedom of movement in them.
Yeah.
And if I feel that there is a kind of, the mind is so, we've been, what's the word for it? To think about standing up and sitting down. And I'm not interested in sitting up and standing up and sitting down. So the moment you decide or you think of taking me to the chair, I know you're thinking it. So this, the way, when you ask me what's an important thing for me, it's not to put you in the chair.
Of course not.
Yeah, it's okay. Forget about that. What was the thing I was saying?
The approach to teaching, but
the reading.
reading.
Macdonald, because my English was so bad, I couldn't read Alexander's book myself. I probably tried a little bit and tried. The use of the self wasn't so bad, but goodness me, the rest of them.
Yes.
I decided when I training the students, and the certificate is qualified to teach the procedures outlined in the 4 books, something like that. I thought, well, if I want to graduate people here, they've got to know and to talk about these 4 books. So during the break time, we always had reading, and we managed in the 3 years to go through all the 4 books.
Mm-hmm.
And we read them again and again and again, according to, how long you're staying here or how fast we read it or whatever it is, and discussed it too.
Yeah.
This is about reading, because I think that you've got to acquaint yourself with the words of the master, even though there is a lot of, Peter, for example, criticizes quite a lot of it, or try to verify it, or try to make people understand or think or whatever when they read it. I haven't read many of the other books because I feel that there's a lot of talking about it, and I want a different approach. I don't want the talking about it. I want to being it.
Yeah.
To have something from who you are and the experience that you can, what I'm saying, that you know how your body works, and it's not just about the body. It's the mind. We've got the mind that's doing exactly the same thing. It has also got its own posture, and the feelings.
Yeah.
They've got our posture. All these things are in fact connected, and well worth connecting them to see that I'm connected with that. Yeah.
Thank you. Could I ask you for a few very brief definitions, in one sentence or two, what is the Alexander technique?
Oh gosh.
I know, it's the dreaded question.
I did, all these years I've been trying. Every single person I speak to, it's different.
Of course.
Yeah. Do you know, it's a
What is it today?
It's so weird because it is a little bit like it's like other, what are they called, religions. Know thyself, which is the other religions. You kind of, and I mean, you can go very deep, and you can. And it's about being. It's, I mean, everything about it changes if you work the right way. Then you're not a technician.
Yeah,
it's something to do with, can you be with another person and slowly find out, know yourself. And it's not a very good definition, because lots of people say, I'm not interested, I don't want to know.
Well, in the same way as people usually don't want to change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for me, this is it.
Yeah, it's a good definition.
Yeah.
And maybe last question, how does change come about? How does it happen?
It's wonderful. It's nature. It's nature. Experience. Your experience, it's written down up there, and it's added to what was. And if it replaces something that was, then you expanded on the possibility of the picture in the brain. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ellie.
Well,